colleagues, dear organizers of the conference, I'm very sorry that I'm unable to attend the conference in person due to an unfortunate vismail. Thank you to the organizers for giving me the colleagues, dear organizers of the conference. I'm very sorry that I'm unable to attend the conference in person due to an unfortunate vismail. Thank you to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to present my research to you, at least in this format. The title of my presentation is Bears and Humans in Siberian Perspective. Nastasia Martin's book, In the Eye of the Wild, was published in 2021. In her book, the French anthropologist writes about her main interest in neo-animism, the study of the boundaries and relationships between humans and animals. While doing her fieldwork in Kamchatka, she was attacked and almost killed by a bear, which nearly split her skull open, leaving a permanent mark. Nastasia was bouncing between hospitalizations in Russia and then in France. She tried to make sense of what had happened, so she finally returned to Kamchatka to try to understand what it meant that the local indigenous people thought she had become Metka, a half-human, half-animal, as a result of the bear attack, that is, the infinitely close and intimate relationship with the bear. The book speaks of the penetrability of words, of being between words. Its protagonist narrator balances between life and death, between the Russian and the French word, and between the word of the human and the animal. As she writes, the bear and I are talking about liminality, and even if it is frightening, no one can change that. The author increasingly adopted an indigenous perspective in Tim Ingold's sense, increased knowledge about animals in the way that indigenous people do, that is, by opening up to them as they would to other peoples and making their experiences their own. Now I have to deal with the PPT. Meanwhile, she leaves the basic premise of neo-animism studies, that there is not always a sharp boundary between the creatures that inhabit the world together and share their societies, the animals beyond humans. As she attempts to comprehend her own life, she gradually realizes that the European notion of a clear distinction between the human and the natural world seems to be a dead end. Rana Willerslev also writes that in Western Cartesian thinking, we have too sharply separated the cultural from the natural, the human from the animal. According to this view, everything that constitutes the personality, intentions, moral consciousness, the philosophical thinking, belongs exclusively to humans, while animals are natural beings whose actions are automatic and instinctive. According to him, the Yukagirs think in a radical different way. There is no sharp boundary between the human and the animal. Other species look at things in the same way, see the world in the same way, think about it in the same way as humans. Only the perspective is different depending on the form they take. For Viveiros de Castro, this kind of perspectivism transform Western uninaturalism and multiculturalism into uniculturalism and multinaturalism. Since Western ontology is based on the idea of the unity of nature and the diversity of cultures, while perspectivism is based on the idea of mental, spiritual unity and diversity of bodies. Martin's book uses a unique voice, balancing not only between words, but also between fiction and non-fiction. It is also makes the reader wonder how the relationships between humans, animals, and gods can be described in words that make sense to our logic of these not at all sharp boundaries that often connect rather than divide. We can get closer to this by trying to talk about the bear from a Khanty perspective. Alexander Dunin-Gorkavich describes the story of the bear's origin in the slide, which shows the most important aspects of the Khanty's relationship with the bear. What are these important motives that can be gleaned for this story? The bear originated from the heaven. From heaven he is thrown to earth by his father, the god of the heaven, for his sin, but there he is given a new chance and can live his life as a bear. This means that he has to change into an animal, which means that the moss that has grown on his naked body turns into fur. Despite his transformation into an animal, he does not lose his supernatural ability to see and hear all things, that is, the ability of omniscience. People therefore treat him with respect and fear, but also hunt it. In other words, the bear has supernatural human and animal qualities at the same time, and can even be all three, as Mandelstam-Basel writes. The bear is half animal and half human and half god, a being that defies categorization according to clear structures. Dunin-Gorkavich was traveling in the territory of the former Tobolsk Governorate and did not visit the valley of the Vasyugan River, which was already part of the Tomsk Governorate and where the Vasyugan Khanty people lived, among whom I did my fieldwork about 100 years later. Nevertheless, it is not a mistake to quote his description as a prelude, since the conclusions of his story are essentially the same as those of the Vasyugan Khanty. In an analysis of the bear-man relationship, what immediately strikes the eye is that the bear is thought to be very much like a human. This similarity is apparent in the body of the bear, in its behavior and customs. And so in my presentation, I will solely elaborate only on this information. Bears have personalities like people do. Animals, like people, have two souls, a life soul, Lil, and a shadow soul, Iles. Since the shadow soul is closely connected to the human figure, it is not accidental that the bear, whose physique is similar to man's, has souls very similar to the souls of the man. The Khanty of Vasyugan believe that the soul of the bear are quite human, and moreover, the bear has the ability of thought, which they ascribe to the working of another soul, Nyomes. Apart from man and the bear, only three other animals, the moose, the beaver, and the swan, have the ability of thinking. The sameness of the soul is the reason why the bear understands human speech and even hears and understands human thoughts. That is why it reveals itself to the man who is thinking strongly of meeting him. The bear even dreams about the approach of people. So the bear hears what is said about him in his absence. This is one reason why it demands respectful behavior in its absence, which for the Khanty's also means avoiding unnecessary mention of its name. Although its name is Ich, it is usually referred to as a taboo name, Kakivayach, brother beast. The sameness of the bears and the human's personality, the fact that they are hardly different from each other mentally, spiritually, is what gives the possibility of transformation. There are also stories along the Vasyugan that dead people can become bears, or that under other circumstances people turn into bears. The people along the Vasyugan say the bear looks like a human being. It is about the same height when standing on two legs, and the internal organs are also very similar. The bear is just like us, but he has clothes. If you remove its skin, it is the same, as Khanty said. There is a widespread story about a pathologist who had to perform an autopsy on a decaying corpse, and it took him a long time to realize it was not a human corpse, but a bear. Obviously, what is important in this story is not the actual truth of the mother, but the fact that it is spoken of by the locals as an unquestionable fact. Bears also behave like humans. Like man, the bear heals itself. The bear also marks his cave just like a man. He rows down the branches of trees around it. Like man's way marks, he marks his hunting ground. Man leaves X marks, bear scratches on the tree. The bear sucks its thumb in the same way as man. He has the same tendency to get drunk when he finds vodka, when he robs a house, and it can get hangover in the same way. The bear also cries when he is sad. He sings to himself when he is happy. In general, he is very fond of music, as you can see it on the picture, on this picture. Bears also have similar habits to humans. Among them, there are evil ones, and there are benevolent ones, just like among humans. Whether a bear is good or bad is basically judged by its attitude towards humans. The good ones avoid humans, avoid harming them, or they hunt in cabins and chambers. The ones who eat the food of the people, mischievous, while the ones that cause serious damage and may be aggressive are clearly evil and bad. Like humans, bears can be forgiving, but they can also be vindictive and punish those they get angry with. Despite the similarities, bears are in some ways more perfect than humans. According to the Khanty's, the bear is just like us, but faster, stronger, and smarter. The strength of the bear is beyond question for them, quoting innumerable signs, such as felled or broken trees. You can't run away from a bear as he runs faster. You can't escape into the water as he swims faster than man can row. And you can't climb a tree to escape for a bear as he climbs faster. This obvious hierarchy is essentially balanced for men by the gun. It is irresponsible for anybody to encounter a bear unarmed. But equipped with a gun, man's chances are equal to those of the bear, or may even be better. With a gun, you can get into an argument with a bear, as my Khanty friend said. The bear's cleverness is explained in various terms. Its hunting skills are also traced to his cleverness. It is also a sign of his intelligence that he senses when the first snow will fall, and usually the day before he withdraws to hibernate. He is also taken for his prudence that once inside a hunting lodge, he customs all the food in sacks, pockets, and tins, but doesn't touch bottles, lest glass should hurt him. His cleverness is often seen as supernatural. The hunted bear is so clever that he can confuse his footprints to mislead the hunter, or simply pick up his signs and tracks to fool the dogs. That the bear is clearly considered mightier than man may root in the Khanty ideology, which does not only compare the bear to man, but also endows the bear with supernatural qualities, since the differences between bears, humans, and gods are primarily social differences, not ontological ones. The bear is not just the son of the god of the heaven, but various gods may take the shape of a bear. There seems to be a tense contradiction between the fact that the practice of bear hunting is indisputable, their meat is eaten, their fat and bile are used as medicine, and the fact that bears should not be hunted according to normative rules because of their sacrality. But this is only an apparent contradiction. The possibility of hunting is legitimized on multiple grounds. Although the bear is a sacred animal, he is actually made for the man, as we have seen in the story of Tunin Gorkalic. It is true that the bear supervises the human world and punishes humans for their sins. So it is a super society of humans, but in the same way, the society of humans is a super society of bears. So if a bear breaks the rules set by his father, the god, man has the right to kill him. Moreover, a bear that breaks the rules not only can be killed, but must be killed. According to another origin story, the reason for this is that the god of the heaven told his son to live peacefully and only attack those who committed a sin or disrespected him. However, the bear soon broke his promise, either because he could not resist the temptation of the food stores, or because he was hungry and dug out people's graves so that people became entitled to hunt him. Thus, if a hunter sees a bear, that is, if the bear shows itself to him of its own free will, it means that the bear is ready to die. This, of course, is a privilege, a great honor, and if the hunter does not kill the bear, he will be punished for him, so he will be torn to pieces by a bear. Likewise, the Khanty along the Vasyugan River also think that a bear whose track or cave is discovered must be killed. That does not mean that the hunter who noticed him must kill him. He may sell his right of shooting to another hunter, but he must not keep it secret. In the early winter of 1998, as I witnessed, a man from the river Yugan discovered the bear cave. But having never hunted a bear himself, he was terrified of it and saw the opportunity to shoot one. In his view, it was a win-win situation. A local businessman paid him with a chainsaw for the information, but it was a win situation for the bear and for the social order too, because he was ultimately killed. However, if he had kept it a secret, he would have been badly off. Either he himself would have been torn apart by a bear, or he would never have found a bear cave again. These beliefs and rules are no longer alive in the highly acculturated Vasyugan. Here the encounter does not always have to be followed by a bear hunt, except in one case where it is absolutely necessary to kill the bear. Once you start hunting bears in winter, you must finish, because if he wakes up and does not lie back down, he may become a tramp bear, a killer bear, as a Khanty hunter said. So it happens that a hunter does not shoot a bear that he spots. Just as it can happen that a bear is hunted that has not shown itself. So much so that a loop is set for it. The supernatural abilities of the bear therefore justify its being a punitive force or even a protective power. Although the bear oath custom cited in detail by Dunin Gorkavich is no longer known today, the bear is often depicted as an executor of supernatural punishments. The disappearance without a trace of a woman who has certainly been torn to pieces by a bear is therefore often seen as a fateful, as a supernatural punishment, or as the fulfillment of a man's foreseeable destiny. The protective role of a bear can also be seen in the fact that bear skulls are kept in the attic of their house. Although this is now only found in my host's house in Azjornoye, even non-Khantis have always told me that it protects the house from bear attacks. How many times did the bear destroy everything at the home bar, the street oven, the stable, but it never came to the house, as they said. To sum it up, the relationship between bears and humans, according to the Khantis, goes beyond the way European thinking can imagine it. The bear is similar to man, more and less than man, a supervisor and the supervised, the prey and the hunter of the man. They are members of the same more than human society, sharing their words and participating in each other's lives and thoughts, even if their encounters are rare and both try to avoid them. Their relationship is accompanied and governed by emotions such as respect or even fear. By understanding this relationship, by putting it into words, we learn much more than how the Khantis think about animals. We actually understand ourselves and the place of humans in society. We are also learning and expressing a way of thinking that opens up new perspective on how to deal with the relationship between man and nature, which is one of the greatest challenges facing humanity today, and to which Western thinking has so far been unable to provide an adequate response. Thank you for the attention, and I hope you have a very good conference. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.